Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to talk all about the element of art, value. And we're going to make some value popsicles. Value is all about how light or dark something is within a piece of artwork. Another way to think about value is light versus dark. This printable will be available in the description, but it shows you the lightest color is white, and it's on a scale down to the darkest color, which is black. And everything in between is the different shades and tints within that value. So here's what you'll need for today's lesson. Your popsicle printout, your refrigerator to keep it in, colored pencils or paint if you decide to go that route, a paintbrush, a pair of scissors, something to keep your paint in, and a glue stick. So let's skip to the good part and make some art. Today I'm going to show you two different ways to make value. The first is with paint. So you just need any color of paint. Mine happens to be blue. And for today's example, you need white paint. I'm actually out of white paint, so this is gesso. But this white paint, this Prang washable paint, is available at the dollar store. So to make your value scale, just like on our printable, with paint, we're going to start out with the darkest color, which would just be pure color, whatever color you're using. Then, to make it a little bit lighter, we just add a little bit of white paint to some blue paint. We make a little bit of a tint. I want it to be just a little bit lighter. We're going to keep going, adding more and more white paint to our blue to make it lighter and lighter. And this is kind of fun. You can just experiment with how many different tints of blue you can get, or whatever your color is. And you can do the same thing with black paint, and then it becomes a shade instead of a tint, and it'll get darker. So we're going to go a little bit lighter. And this is not a perfect science. It's just about playing and practicing your colors. So we have a pretty light blue now, so let's see if we can make it even lighter. Just mixing my colors together. So you can see we went from our darkest shade and got it lighter each time until we got a very, very light blue, and then our next one would be pure white. So that's how you make value or tint with paint. Today, we're going to use colored pencils, but if you want to use paint, you're more than welcome. Okay, so if you're using colored pencils, it's going to work in a very similar way, but it's more about how much pressure you use when you're coloring than about mixing the color. So you can do them all the same color and make that your value. Start with white and then make them gradually get darker. Like in my example, I used rainbow colors, so whatever you prefer to do. But you're just going to start by coloring your popsicle in the lightest pressure, pressing very, very lightly. You could also use crayon, but I think it'd be harder to get the different value that you're looking for. So I'm just going to press very lightly in this first section, coloring in my popsicle. Now for the next section, I'm going to press a little bit darker. You can also layer with colored pencils, and that's another way to get your color to be a little bit darker. If you're having difficulty using pressure to make it a darker color, just go a second layer over the color, and then third layer and fourth layer. can see right now they kind of look pretty similar, so if I go over this again, it's going to make it a little bit darker, which gives me that next shade in my scale. So now you can see they have the lightest shade and then the second, and we'll go on to the third. So I'm going to go over it a second time to make it darker, and then a third time to make it darker than this one. This would also be a fun project to do with pastel colors. Start with a really, really light pastel and then make it a little bit deeper and richer each time. So here's my third layer, making this section just a little bit darker than the last. So you can see I have a nice gradient going. I'm going to do the last one, and I'm not only going to go over it more times, but I'm going to press harder as I'm coloring. So now I have my red popsicle from lightest to darkest, and I can color in my popsicle stick. I'm going to continue coloring my popsicles, and we'll go on with the next step. Okay, I have all of my popsicles colored in, so I'm going to cut them out. And I went ahead and printed my background on a blue piece of paper just to give it a little bit more visual interest. So I'm going to cut that out, and we'll be ready to put it all together. I have all my popsicles cut out, so I'm ready to glue them in. I am putting mine in rainbow order, but you can glue them in however you like. Some on the top shelf, and a few across the bottom. This next step is optional, but very fun. I went ahead and printed a second refrigerator, and I'm going to glue it on so we can open our door and see them inside. So I'm just going to glue a little bit along the edge here, because I don't want to glue it shut. I'm going to line that up, press that down. And now my fridge can open with my popsicles inside. And to make it even more fun, I'm going to add a few refrigerator magnets to the front. I printed out a few things to make refrigerator magnets for my fridge, but you can draw anything you want to add to your fridge. A few of these are Easter eggs for other Jen Crowell, the art gal, content. So if you recognize one or even all of them, be sure and comment down below. I printed out a tiny popsicle to match my popsicles on the inside. And there you go. Now you have your very own value popsicle refrigerator. So remember, value is the lightness or darkness of a color that makes our art more interesting. And with that, that's a wrap on value. I hope you had so much fun making your value popsicle refrigerator. And remember, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep making art. I'll see you next time. Bye!